When was the last time you stood in front of the mirror and truly asked yourself, am I really living the life that I desire? Not the one others expect of me, not the one that looks right in the eyes of society, but the one that honestly speaks to my soul. Very few people dare to follow the importance of choosing themselves, even when everything around them seems to push in the opposite direction. We live in a world carefully built to distract us, to keep us trapped in routines, expectations, and endless duties that feel impossible to escape. From the moment you open your eyes in the morning, you are hit with demands. Work, family, responsibilities, social rules, all telling you how you should behave, what you should aim for, and even shaping what you should believe success looks like. But here is a truth many people refuse to face. Every time you put others above yourself, you are quietly telling your own soul that it does not matter, that its needs, its dreams, and its truths come second. You are shutting down that inner voice inside, the quiet one that always tries to guide you toward a more real and fulfilling life. Believed, our connection to the unconscious is not optional. It is not something we can simply ignore because it is part of who we are. Yet so many people silence it, push it away, pretend it isn't there, because listening to it makes them uncomfortable. That uneasy feeling you experience when something in your life feels wrong, that is not random. That is your soul speaking to you, showing you that something must change, even if just the thought of change terrifies you. Stop for a moment and think. How many of the choices you've made recently came from your true self? And how many came from fear? Fear of letting people down, fear of stepping outside of the norm, fear of feeling uncomfortable, or fear of leaving behind what feels safe and familiar. That urges us to reflect deeply on this because he knew a universal truth. Choices not rooted in your inner truth only bring chaos and disconnection. The farther you walk away from yourself, the more lost you will feel. But let's be clear about something important. Choosing yourself does not mean rejecting others. It is not about living selfishly or forgetting the people around you. It means that in order to give your best to the world, you must first be at peace within. This is the very heart of self-love, a concept, spoken with depth. Self-love is not a luxury. It is not an excuse to run away from responsibilities. It is the very foundation upon which real and meaningful relationships are built. When you begin to prioritize yourself, something powerful changes in your energy. You start to attract people, situations, and opportunities that are in harmony with who you really are. It is as if the universe itself responds to your decision to live in truth, removing what no longer serves you and bringing what you truly need to grow. But reaching this point requires you to face your shadows, the parts of yourself you have ignored, hidden, or even feared. Describe the shadow as the hidden side of the mind, carrying all the things we would rather not admit about ourselves. Facing it can feel heavy, even frightening, but within that meeting lies the start of true transformation. When you begin to integrate your shadows, when you stop fighting against them, and instead learn to accept them, you unlock a strength inside you that you never realized was there. This integration is not quick. It demands courage, patience, and a steady commitment to understanding yourself. But what you gain in return is priceless. You gain clarity, the ability to see through illusions you once believed. You gain purpose, a renewed sense of direction in life. You gain inner peace, a calm so strong that no outside storm can shake it. You gain the strength to say no to what does not belong in your life without guilt, without fear, and without worrying about the opinions of others. But most importantly, you gain freedom, the freedom to simply be who you are. And maybe right now you are wondering, how do I even start this journey? The answer is simpler than it seems. Start by listening. Each time you feel discomfort, confusion, or a rise of emotion, pause and ask yourself, what is my inner self trying to show me? Because as once said, the answers we desperately search for outside are already within us. We only need the courage to listen and the strength to act. One of the hardest things we do in life is listen to our intuition, especially when it points us toward a path that shakes the very ground we stand on. Maybe it's a relationship you know has reached its end. Maybe it's a job that drains your spirit, but feels impossible to leave. Maybe it's a dream you've been chasing, not because it was ever truly yours, but because it looked right in the eyes of others. Reminds us that ignoring these signals is not strength. It is a denial of your real essence. To choose yourself is to find the courage to let go of what no longer feels alive in you. That is never easy. We hold on tightly to what is familiar because change feels frightening. We whisper to ourselves that it is better to stay with the devil we know than step into the unknown. But challenges us to see change not as the end of something, but as a doorway, a passage to a more honest version of ourselves. So let me ask you, what are you holding on to that no longer has a place in your life? What relationships, beliefs, or habits are you clinging to only because of fear? You may believe that letting go of certain people or situations would be a loss. But the real loss is when you sacrifice your peace of mind just to keep something that already lost its meaning. The choice will always be yours. And maybe the most important question you can ask yourself right now is, am I ready to finally choose myself? Choosing yourself is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of love, of deep respect for the person God created you to be. For too long, society has trained us to think that putting ourselves first is wrong, that meeting our own needs first is somehow betraying the people around us. But in truth, the opposite is real. When you at last make the decision to choose yourself, something beautiful begins to unfold. It is like a fog that once covered your eyes, suddenly lifts, and for the first time in a long time, you see clearly. The people who truly support you remain, while those who only drained your energy, those who never valued you, begin to fade away. And this is not by accident. It is the reflection of an inner change, an alignment between your soul and your reality. Call this synchronicity, the mysterious yet undeniable link between your thoughts, your emotions, and the events that unfold in your life. The moment you start living in alignment with your truth, the world outside begins to shift and mirror that same truth. It feels as though life itself is reshaping to match your authenticity. But this process requires something most people struggle with: radical honesty with yourself. Choosing yourself is not just about bold decisions or strong boundaries. Sometimes it is also about admitting painful truths about your past. Maybe you have made choices that did not reflect who you truly were. Maybe you let others cross lines, sacrificing your peace just to keep them happy. Maybe you said yes when your whole heart wanted to say no, simply because you feared their disappointment. But here is what matters. This is not a reason to condemn yourself. It is not a reason to carry shame. It is an invitation, a chance to learn, to adjust, and to make a different choice as you move forward. Believed authenticity is not a place you arrive at once and for all. It is a journey, a continuous path of learning, evolving, and growing into your truest self. And yes, on this road you will face resistance. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when old habits pull you back, tempting you to return to comfort. But never forget, real growth does not happen inside comfort zones. The greatest transformations always happen when you step beyond the familiar into the unknown. And the truth is, not everyone will understand your choice to live this way. Some will criticize, some will question you, and some may even walk away because you no longer fit into the picture they had of you. And yes, that can hurt. But when you choose yourself, you stop searching for validation in others. You learn that your value does not rest on what people think of you, but on what you believe about yourself. This does not mean you should cut yourself off or live in isolation. In fact, the opposite is true. When you choose yourself, your relationships change in ways you never thought possible. You no longer chase approval. Instead, you open the door to real connection. You no longer settle for surface-level interactions. Deep inside, you long for connections that truly feed your soul. And as you walk this path, you begin to notice something beautiful. The right people always find their way into your life. They are not drawn to you because they need something from you, but because they see your worth. They value you exactly as you are. As you start living with honesty and authenticity, the world around you begins to shift in ways that almost feel miraculous. Yet this is not magic, and it is not a trick. It is the natural harmony between your inner life and your outer world. Carl often spoke about how our psyche projects what is within us onto everything around us. If you carry inner conflict, you will meet conflict in the world. If you reject yourself, you will face rejection in different forms. But when you accept yourself, when you decide to choose who you truly are, you begin to see a different picture. People respond differently. Circumstances open up in ways you never thought possible. But let us be honest, this kind of transformation does not happen in one night. It is a journey, and every journey asks for patience and commitment. There will be days when you feel as if you are sliding backward, moments when old habits and old ways of thinking come knocking at your door again. And this right here is where the true test begins. Your ability to remain steady in choosing yourself, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when the road feels lonely. We live in a world that praises sacrifice, but we must ask ourselves, at what cost? Society often teaches us that giving everything to others, even when it leaves us empty, is a noble act. But what happens when your cup is drained dry? What happens when you give so much that you disappear in the process? Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is survival, it is necessary. Because only when you are whole, when you are grounded in your truth, can you offer something real and lasting to others. When you are aligned, when you are full, then you can give out of abundance instead of exhaustion. So dare to choose yourself. Not just once, not just in the big moments, but every single day, even in the small decisions. Watch how life slowly begins to transform in ways you could not have imagined. Taught something deeply important: we cannot give what we do not have. If you sacrifice your happiness, your energy, or your peace just to keep others happy, what you are offering them is not genuine. And eventually, that imbalance will show itself. It may come through exhaustion, through discontent, or through an aching emptiness that refuses to go away. Take a quiet moment and reflect on the relationships you hold right now. Which ones lift your spirit, inspire you, and give you peace? And which ones leave you drained, confused, or emotionally tired? Reminded us that relationships are not only connections with people, they are mirrors. They show us what lives within us, what we believe about ourselves, and the patterns we have yet to heal. If you allow someone to cross your boundaries again and again, it is not always because they are cruel. It is often because some part of you has not yet learned how to guard and protect your own heart. Setting boundaries is not selfish, it is love. It is respect for yourself. Believe the unconscious mind is always guiding us toward wholeness, but too often we ignore its gentle nudges. That heavy feeling you sense after spending time with certain people, that is not by chance. That is your inner self warning you that something is not aligned. And if you continue to push away those signals, the price will always be your peace. Choosing yourself means learning to set boundaries. These boundaries are not walls meant to keep people away, but bridges that lead you to healthier and more honest relationships. Every time you say no to something that does not serve your spirit, you are saying yes to your truth, yes to your dreams, yes to your own well-being. This does not mean cutting everyone off, but it does mean being honest about who truly nourishes your life and who leaves you drained. And as you begin living in this new way, something incredible takes place. Your intuition, once soft and uncertain, begins to speak louder. That quiet inner voice becomes a trusted guide, showing you the way with clarity you never had before. You start making decisions not only with reason, but with deep knowing in your soul. This is the gift of choosing yourself. It awakens your intuition. Described intuition as a sacred connection to the unconscious. It is that deep gut feeling, that unexplainable knowing when something is right or when something is not. To hear it clearly, you must quiet the noise of the world. You must release the need for approval, let go of the heavy chains of expectations, and dare to trust yourself. Because in the end, no one else can know what is best for your life the way you can. When you choose yourself, you are sending out a bold message to the universe. I am ready to live in truth, and life responds. Suddenly, people, opportunities, and moments begin to flow toward you in perfect timing. Challenges will still come, but they will not feel like endless battles. They will feel like stepping stones, each one carrying you higher into growth and discovery. By walking in authenticity, you also open yourself to something called synchronicity. These are the moments when events line up so perfectly it feels as though the universe itself is speaking to you. These are not coincidences. They are reflections of your inner world in harmony. When you are aligned within, the world outside you begins to align too. Doors open with ease. The right people cross your path. Life begins to move in a rhythm that feels almost effortless. And this is the beauty of honoring your true self. When you value your inner world, the outer world responds. In this space of deep alignment, you will discover not only fulfillment, but also peace, the kind of peace that whispers to your heart. You are exactly where you are meant to be. When you choose yourself and honor your truth, the universe begins to open its arms. The right chances appear, the right people arrive, and everything that once seemed impossible becomes possible. It feels as if the very fabric of existence bends to match your new sense of purpose. What once felt far away is suddenly close enough to touch. But do not be misled. This path is not free from challenges. In fact, the moment you begin to choose yourself, resistance often grows stronger. The world, so used to the version of you that bent to please others, may push back. Expectations from outside will try to pull you back into old patterns. Doubts will rise, fears will whisper, and the temptation to return to what is comfortable will test you. Yet this is where your power shines. Each time you reaffirm your choice, each time you place your peace above demands, you strengthen the bond with your true self. Stay steady even when fear visits you. It is normal to feel afraid when you step out of the familiar, even if that familiar is painful. But remember, every time you remain in a place that no longer brings joy, you are shutting the door on something far greater that longs to meet you. Reminded us that real change does not come without resistance. That resistance is not failure. It is proof that you are moving forward. It is the tension between the old and the new, between who you once were and who you are becoming. And one of the most powerful ways to move through this resistance is reflection. Ask yourself, what do I truly value? What matters most to me? What kind of life do I long to create? When you are clear about your values and your vision, decisions become easier. And as you walk in that clarity, you naturally begin to attract people, opportunities, and experiences that live in the same energy as you. The world around you shifts when your inner self comes into alignment. It's so important to remember that you are never truly alone on this journey. At first, choosing yourself might feel like something you do all by yourself. But in truth, what you're doing is clearing a path that naturally brings the right people into your life. People who will walk with you, celebrate with you, and stand beside you. These people won't expect you to change in order to fit into their lives. They will accept you exactly as you are because they too are living in alignment with who they really are. When you reach this place, something inside of you changes for good. Life no longer feels like a constant uphill battle. The choices that once weighed so heavily on your heart now come with clarity and confidence. And most of all, you discover a peace that does not depend on outside circumstances. Because as reminded us, real peace is something that can only be found within. That inner peace is born when you honor your needs, respect your boundaries, and live in alignment with your deepest values. And yet, it is more than just a personal blessing. It becomes something you can give to the world. When you live in truth and authenticity, you shine as an example for others. Your courage becomes a light for those who are still wandering, still searching for their own way. In doing so, you not only transform your life, but you begin a ripple that touches the lives of everyone around you. Pause for a moment and picture what your life would look like if you released everything that no longer serves you. What would it feel like to let go of the relationships that drain your energy, the duties that weigh you down, the expectations you never wanted to meet in the first place? Imagine the freedom, the lightness, the clarity. This is not some unreachable dream. This is real. It is here. It is within your grasp. All it takes is the willingness to finally choose yourself. And when you make that choice, you start to see that letting go does not mean losing. It means making space. It means creating room for the things that really matter. You begin building a life that feels not only meaningful, but full of joy and purpose. That is a transformation worth embracing. This is the gift. Wanted every one of us to discover that the true change begins not when we search endlessly outside of ourselves, but when we realize that what we have been looking for has always been within. The moment you decide to live from a place of truth, your truth, not the version of you shaped by others, that's the moment life truly opens up. And when that happens, everything begins to feel different. You feel alive in a way you haven't before. You are no longer trapped by the expectations of others. You are no longer bound by the rules of a society that constantly tries to tell you who you must be, how you must act, or what counts as success. Instead, you begin listening to that inner voice, the one that has been with you all along, quietly whispering, urging you to look deeper, to believe that something greater is waiting for you, if only you are brave enough to follow. That sense of freedom is priceless. It's as though a heavy weight is lifted from your chest, and suddenly you can breathe fully, deeply, freely. Maybe for the very first time in years. But understand this, to reach this freedom requires courage. It takes bravery to face the pressures around you. But even more, it takes courage to face what's inside, the fears, the doubts, the old beliefs that have kept you small. Often said that our greatest enemy is not something outside of us. It's the voice within. That whisper that says, what if I'm not enough? What if I fail? What if I let others down? But here is the truth, the secret that so many never uncover. That voice is not the real you. It is only an echo of past pain, old conditioning, memories that you unknowingly carried as truth. But they are not truth. And every time you face that voice, every time you act despite the fear, you tear down those false beliefs one piece at a time. You open space for something new to rise within you. This is the real power of choosing yourself. When you decide to take this step, you break free from the invisible chains that have held you for far too long. And as you keep walking, something amazing begins to happen. The things that once consumed you, the constant need for approval, the desperate chase for validation, the habit of pleasing others, all of it begins to loosen its hold. You stop needing to compare yourself, to compete, to mold yourself into someone you are not. Instead, you find fulfillment in simply being you. And it's in this place of truth that you discover your true power. Not the kind of power that tries to control others, not dominance or force, but a deeper power, a steady, unshakable power that flows from being fully connected with yourself. It is quiet, but it is unstoppable. Because when you are aligned with your truth, when you stand in that place, nothing and no one can push you off your path. And the beauty of it is, your transformation doesn't just stay with you. It radiates outward. When you choose yourself, you become living proof of what authenticity looks like. You don't need to preach, you don't need to persuade. Just by being who you are, you inspire others. Your very presence stirs something inside them. You give them permission to question, to face their fears, to take steps toward their own truth. This was something. Understood deeply. He saw that when even one person chooses authenticity, it creates a ripple that spreads into families, into communities, even into the world itself. Because as we return to our true selves, the way we connect changes, the way we love changes, and the way we live changes. But don't be messled into thinking the road is always smooth. This journey is not straight. There will be days when you feel powerful, at peace, fully connected to yourself. And there will be days when doubt creeps in again, when confusion clouds your vision, when you question whether you are truly on the right path. Those moments are not failure. They are part of the process. Saw them as invitations, opportunities to grow deeper, to learn, to stretch beyond what you thought you could. Each challenge, each setback, carries within it the chance to step into something greater. And when those darker days come, when the path feels uncertain, hold on to this truth: you are not alone. Though the choice to be authentic feels lonely at first, you will find that life places the right people, the right words, the right experiences on your path. Maybe it will come through a book, maybe through a conversation, maybe even through a message like the one you are hearing now. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. They are reminders that you are exactly where you need to be. Every single choice you have made, every challenge you have overcome, has led you to this very moment. And while the future is always unknown, there is one thing you can be certain of: as long as you keep choosing yourself, you are creating a life worth living. The greatest gift you can ever give yourself is to be unapologetically you. Not the version people expect, not the version you built to fit in, but your truest self. The one that still shines when no one is watching. Once said that the real work of life is not about searching outside, but about uncovering the deep truths hidden within. And when you make that conscious choice to embrace who you are, you realize something life-changing. Everything you were chasing has always been inside you. This is your call to action. Life is too precious to spend silencing your heart, hiding your dreams, and living for someone else's expectations. The time to take the first step is now. The time to face your fears, to acknowledge your shadows, to listen to the gentle whisper of your soul. That time is today. The chance to reconnect with your true self is right here, right now. And when you make that choice, when you choose yourself, you do more than shift your own life. You transform the world around you. Your energy changes, your vision expands. Your presence becomes a light that touches every person who crosses your path. So now the question is, what comes next? Pause and reflect. Which parts of your life are in harmony with who you really are? What are the things you can release to make space for authenticity? What fears are still holding you back from becoming the person you were always meant to be? Remember this: every step counts. Every time you choose what is real for you, it is a victory. And never forget, you are not walking this path alone. This space, this voice, this community is here to remind you of the incredible potential already living inside of you. And if this message has touched your heart, don't let it end here. Share it. Share it with someone who may be searching, someone carrying their own doubts, someone who might need this exact reminder right now. Because every word you share matters. Every small act of spreading light matters. Together, we can create a community of people committed to courage, to truth, to self-acceptance. So let me ask you, what part of this message spoke to you? What step will you take today to honor yourself more fully? Share it, because your words matter. They matter not just for you, but for others who are walking the same road. If you haven't already, make sure you join this journey fully. Stay connected. Because together, we can bring this truth further, reaching those who need to remember that the greatest power of all lies in something simple, yet extraordinary, the power of being yourself. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this journey. Most of all, thank you for having the courage to walk toward your true self. Never forget. Change begins with you. And the world today needs more souls brave enough to live in truth. And always remember, life truly begins the moment you decide to choose yourself.